Female prison guard engaged in sexual activity with an inmate.
While it might seem unexpected, there are indeed instances of female correctional officers becoming involved with inmates. In recent years, several cases of inappropriate relationships between female officers and inmates have been brought to light. These incidents have raised serious concerns about prison security and the professional conduct expected of correctional officers. Such breaches not only compromise the integrity of correctional facilities, but also present significant risks to public safety. Join us in this video as we delve into cases where female officers were caught in inappropriate relationships with inmates. Tori Landmesser. Tori Landmesser, a 26-year-old juvenile corrections officer at the McLennan County State Juvenile Corrections Facility in Texas, found herself at the center of a scandal that unfolded in 2019. Her case drew attention due to the nature of her relationship with a former inmate and the timing of their sexual encounter. Landmesser had been employed at the juvenile facility for several years, working with young offenders in a position of authority and trust. However, her professional judgment was called into question when she became involved with a 19-year-old teenager who had previously been incarcerated at the facility where she worked. The inappropriate relationship between Landmesser and the young man reportedly developed while he was still an inmate at the McLennan County State Juvenile Corrections Facility. Although there was no evidence of sexual contact during his incarceration, the emotional connection that formed during this time laid the foundation for their later involvement. What distinguished Landmesser's case from many others is that the sexual encounter occurred after the young man had been released from the facility. This detail, however, did not exempt her from legal and professional consequences. The sexual relationship between a corrections officer and a former inmate is still considered a breach of professional ethics and, in many jurisdictions, a criminal offense. The illicit relationship came to light through an internal investigation, though the specific details of how it was discovered were not made public. Upon uncovering evidence of the inappropriate relationship and the sexual encounter, the McLennan County State Juvenile Corrections Facility took swift action. Landmesser was arrested and held on a $5,000 bail, which she had paid the next day. Following her arrest, Landmesser was suspended from her position at the Juvenile Corrections Facility. The suspension allowed for a thorough investigation into the extent of her misconduct and its potential impact on the facility's operations and other inmates. On May 21, 2019, after completing their investigation, the McLennan County State Juvenile Corrections Facility made the decision to terminate Landmesser's employment. Charlene Diane O'Banion. Charlene Diane, a former correctional officer at the Montgomery County Jail, found herself at the center of a scandal that shocked the facility in June 2022. The 33-year-old officer became romantically involved with an inmate named Parker, serving a sentence for drug trafficking, a relationship that ultimately cost her both her career and freedom. The inmate, known for his charismatic personality, had a history of manipulating both fellow inmates and staff. Using his charm, Parker initiated and maintained an illicit relationship with Diane, exploiting her emotional vulnerabilities. He was strategic in his approach, carefully avoiding detection by exploiting the blind spots in the prison's surveillance system. As the relationship progressed, Diane's behavior began to raise suspicions among her colleagues. She was observed spending an unusual amount of time in the inmate's housing unit and appeared overly familiar with him during interactions. These observations prompted an internal investigation, which ultimately uncovered the full extent of their forbidden relationship. When the relationship was discovered, Parker faced additional disciplinary measures within the prison system. He was transferred to a higher security unit and lost several privileges, severely impacting his chances for any future appeals or clemency considerations. The investigation uncovered a trail of evidence, including inappropriate and sexually explicit conversations between Diane and the inmate. Diane was arrested and charged with multiple offenses, including sexual misconduct, assault, and official misconduct. The gravity of her actions was compounded by the fact that she had abused her position of authority, compromising the safety and security of the entire facility. Following her arrest, Diane was immediately suspended from her position at the Montgomery County Jail. She pleaded guilty to the charges against her and was sentenced to 100 days in prison. The inmate was also put under closer scrutiny and solitary confinement. Joyce Mitchell. Joyce Mitchell, a prison tailor shop instructor, gained notoriety for her involvement in a daring prison escape orchestrated by inmates Richard Matt and David Sweat. Mitchell's case was remarkable not only for her romantic entanglement with the inmates, but also for the profound consequences that broke out. Mitchell had been employed at the prison when she became romantically involved with Richard Matt and David Sweat, both serving lengthy sentences for murder. She played a pivotal role in their ambitious attempt to break free from captivity. Over the course of several months, Joyce Mitchell developed illicit relationships with inmates Richard Matt and David Sweat, becoming emotionally entangled with Matt in particular. Mitchell later confessed to engaging in sexual acts with Matt and sending explicit photos to both inmates. More significantly, she began smuggling tools and other contraband into the prison, items crucial to the inmates' meticulously planned escape. Matt and Sweat successfully executed their escape plan, utilizing information provided by Mitchell to cut through cell walls and a steam pipe before emerging from a manhole outside the prison perimeter. Mitchell's involvement in the escape extended beyond providing tools. She had also agreed to serve as the getaway driver, but backed out at the last minute. Her decision not to proceed likely spared her from more severe legal consequences. The subsequent manhunt for Matt and Sweat lasted for several weeks. While Matt was killed during the pursuit, Sweat managed to evade capture until he was shot and apprehended just miles from the Canadian border. Following his capture, Sweat was transferred to a maximum security facility where he lost all privileges. Shania Begum. Shania Begum was a correctional officer at a juvenile detention facility in Birmingham Prison. Begum's case drew attention due to the young age of the inmate involved and the nature of her misconduct. Begum had been employed at Birmingham Prison when she began an inappropriate relationship with Joshua Mullings, a teenage inmate. The illicit relationship between Begum and Mullings developed over several months in 2018. Despite her training and the clear professional boundaries that should have existed, Begum allowed herself to become emotionally and physically involved with the young inmate. Investigations later uncovered that Begum had exchanged numerous text messages with Mullings using a contraband phone she had smuggled into the facility. The content of these messages ranged from friendly conversation to explicit sexual content, demonstrating the extent of their inappropriate relationship. Furthermore, Begum was found to have engaged in sexual activities with Mullings on at least 3 occasions within the detention center premises in the store cupboard. The internal investigation immediately launched, leading to Begum's suspension and subsequent arrest in March 2019. Begum was charged with sexual activity with a child in a position of trust, a serious offense given Mullings' age and her role as a correctional officer. In September 2020, Begum was sentenced to 16 months in prison. The case of Shania Begum and Joshua Mullings sparked a heated debate about the safeguarding of young offenders in detention facilities. It led to a review of policies and procedures at juvenile correctional institutions across the UK, with a focus on staff vetting, training, and supervision. Aishia Gunn. Aishia Gunn, a prison officer at HMP Berwyn, the largest correctional facility in the UK, was caught in a compromising situation with inmate Khurram Razak, a convicted armed robber serving a 12-year sentence at the time. Gunn began her career at HMP Berwyn 5 months after the facility opened. Despite her training and reputation for dedication to her work, she became romantically involved with Razak. The relationship lasted for a while, during which time Gunn was emotionally unstable and vulnerable. Razak had a reputation for his manipulative and violent behavior, further demonstrated by his involvement in the inappropriate relationship with Gunn. Investigations revealed that Gunn had smuggled a mobile phone into the prison for Razak, enabling him to maintain unauthorized contact with the outside world. Additionally, she was photographed kissing Razak in his cell and had sent numerous sexually explicit photos and videos of herself to him. The exchange of such material between an officer and an inmate is strictly forbidden and constitutes a serious breach of professional conduct. Gunn was arrested and subsequently charged with misconduct in public office, among other charges. She pleaded guilty to the charges against her and was sentenced to 12 months in prison in 2019 at the Mold Crown Court. Emily Watson. Emily Watson found herself embroiled in a scandal that severely tarnished the reputation of what was then Britain's largest prison. Her inappropriate relationship with John McGee, an inmate serving an 8-year sentence for causing death by dangerous driving, began while she was assigned to the prison's education department, where she closely interacted with inmates, including McGee. As their relationship progressed, Watson's conduct grew increasingly reckless. She was discovered to have engaged in sexual activities with McGee on multiple occasions within the prison grounds. Beyond the confines of her duties, Watson maintained illicit contact with McGee outside of work hours, exchanging messages using an illicit phone he had acquired within the prison. This not only breached prison regulations, but also posed a serious security threat, as unauthorized communication devices can facilitate criminal coordination or escape plans. The inappropriate affair came to light when prison authorities intercepted messages between Watson and McGee. An immediate internal investigation ensued, resulting in Watson's suspension and subsequent arrest. Watson admitted guilt to misconduct in public office at Mold Crown Court. During sentencing, Judge Nicholas Perry condemned her actions as scandalous and underscored the breach of trust she had committed. Watson received a prison sentence, with the judge emphasizing the gravity of her offenses and their potential to undermine public confidence in the prison system. This case, along with others at the same facility, prompted scrutiny of existing safeguards and the urgent need for more robust systems to prevent and detect misconduct within correctional facilities. Melissa Goodwin. Melissa Goodwin was a female correctional officer at the Silverwater Prison in Western Sydney. Goodwin's case gathered media attention due to the nature of her offenses, as she had been involved with teenage inmates. Goodwin's professional conduct came under scrutiny when allegations came up about her inappropriate relationship with an inmate named Corey London. She had on multiple occasions allegedly smuggled contraband items into the prison for London, including a mobile device. Again, these are strictly prohibited in correctional facilities, and their presence can disrupt the prison's serenity and lead to security risks. Goodwin was also engaging in sexual activity with London within the prison premises on at least 5 occasions. The inappropriate relationship came to light when prison authorities received a notice, and she was immediately suspended from her duties. She pleaded guilty to misconduct in public office and for inappropriate sexual relationship with a teenager. Goodwin was sentenced to 12 months prison term and 100 hours of community service and received a 2-year community corrections order. Tina Gonzalez. Tina Gonzalez, a 30-year-old correctional officer at Fresno County Jail in California, shocked the local community with revelations that called into question both her mental stability and integrity. Initially regarded as a promising young officer, Gonzalez began engaging in sexual and romantic relationships with multiple inmates whose identities were withheld. This misconduct quickly escalated, leading to numerous breaches of prison protocols and state laws. One of the most troubling aspects of Gonzalez's behavior was her decision to engage in romantic and sexual activities within the jail premises, often in the presence of other inmates. This flagrant violation not only disregarded multiple prison regulations, but also posed significant security risks, compromising the safety of both inmates and staff. Moreover, Gonzalez divulged sensitive operational details of the prison to the inmates she was involved with. In addition to compromising security, Gonzalez was caught smuggling contraband into the facility for her inmate partners. This contraband included prohibited items such as cell phones, razor blades, and even alcohol, all of which are strictly banned in correctional settings due to their potential to disrupt order and facilitate criminal activities within the jail. She also disclosed information about scheduled cell searches to protect her inmate lovers. Gonzalez was arrested and immediately terminated from her position at the jail. She was charged with sexual activity with an inmate, a felony in California, as well as multiple counts of bringing contraband into a correctional facility. During her trial, prosecutors condemned Tina Gonzalez's actions as depraved, highlighting the profound breach of trust she had committed. Gonzalez ultimately pleaded guilty to the charges against her. She received a sentence of 7 months in county jail, followed by 2 years of probation. Additionally, the judge mandated counseling for her and permanently barred her from working in law enforcement. The revelations surrounding Gonzalez sent shockwaves through the Fresno County Sheriff's Office, prompting a comprehensive review of policies and procedures at the jail. In response, the facility implemented stricter vetting processes for correctional officers and enhanced surveillance measures to bolster security and uphold professional standards. These changes were aimed at preventing similar incidents in the future and maintaining the integrity of the correctional system. Melanie Alicia Martin. Melanie Alicia Martin, a former correctional officer at the Modoc County Jail in California, had a reputation as a competent and dedicated officer. However, she became embroiled in an inappropriate relationship with an inmate, whose identity was withheld by authorities to protect the integrity of the investigation. The illicit affair came to light when other staff members reported suspicious behavior to prison officials. Martin was observed spending an unusual amount of time around the inmate's cell and appeared to be overly familiar with him during routine interactions. Evidence suggested that Martin had engaged in sexual activities with the inmate on multiple occasions within the prison premises. Such actions not only violated prison policies, but also constituted a criminal offense under California law, which prohibits sexual contact between correctional officers and inmates. Martin was arrested and immediately suspended from her position. She was charged with sexual activity with a confined consenting adult and bringing contraband into a prison facility. The court sentenced her to a jail term in the state prison, where she previously worked, and set her bail at $20,000. Denise Prell. Prell, a correctional officer and tailor at Clinton Correctional Facility in New York, was entrusted with overseeing inmates' rehabilitation, including Paul Norris, serving a 20-year sentence for first-degree manslaughter. Their inappropriate relationship was brought to light when a vigilant colleague observed suspicious interactions between Prell and Norris and reported them to prison authorities. An internal investigation confirmed the existence of an intimate relationship, characterized by inappropriate physical contact within the prison and the exchange of romantic letters. Prell faced serious consequences for her actions. She was arrested and charged with 23 counts of official misconduct and 1 count of promoting prison contraband. Immediately suspended without pay, she was subsequently terminated from her employment at Clinton Correctional Facility. Denise Prell's legal case progressed with her plea of guilty to a reduced charge of promoting prison contraband in the second degree, categorized as a Class A misdemeanor. In her plea agreement, Prell acknowledged her involvement in an inappropriate relationship with an inmate and the smuggling of prohibited items into the prison. Following this case, Clinton Correctional Facility implemented several reforms aimed at fortifying professional boundaries. These measures included enhanced background checks for civilian employees, more frequent rotations of staff assignments, and heightened monitoring of staff-inmate interactions. These efforts were designed to uphold the integrity and safety of the facility's operations. Kawana Jenkins. Kawana Jenkins, a 36-year-old correctional officer at Fulton County Jail, was initially recognized for her competence in the role. However, she became embroiled in controversy when it was discovered she had engaged in an inappropriate relationship with an undisclosed inmate. An investigation revealed that Jenkins and the inmate had developed a romantic and sexual relationship, evidenced by explicit letters and notes exchanged between them. Reports from fellow inmates further substantiated claims of inappropriate physical contact. Jenkins's actions posed significant security risks as she disclosed confidential information about facility operations and staff schedules to the inmate, compromising the safety of both staff and inmates at Richland Correctional Institution. In addition to breaching security protocols, Jenkins was accused of smuggling contraband into the prison for the inmate, including a cell phone and prohibited gift items. Subsequently, she was suspended from her duties and arrested, facing charges that included sexual assault among others. Jennifer Gavin. Jennifer Gavin, an operational support officer at HMP Berwyn, became embroiled in a scandal in 2022, highlighting yet another instance of inappropriate staff-inmate relationships at the facility. Her case underscored ongoing challenges in maintaining professional boundaries and ensuring security within the prison. Employed at HMP Berwyn since 2020, Gavin held a role involving administrative duties and support for prison operations. Despite training and awareness following previous scandals at the prison, Gavin entered into a romantic relationship with inmate Alex Coxon in 2022. Over several months, the relationship between Gavin and Coxon, who was serving a sentence for robbery, deepened. During this period, Gavin's actions increasingly disregarded prison protocols and jeopardized the facility's security. Among the most serious infractions, Gavin was caught smuggling a mobile phone into the prison for Coxon. Additionally, she exchanged photographs of herself with Coxon using the smuggled phone. Such exchanges of personal and potentially explicit material between a staff member and an inmate are strictly prohibited and constitute a significant breach of professional conduct. The inappropriate relationship between Jennifer Gavin, an operational support officer at HMP Berwyn, and inmate Alex Coxon came to light when prison authorities noticed unusual patterns in Gavin's behavior and interactions with Coxon. An internal investigation swiftly revealed compelling evidence of their illicit affair and the security breaches it entailed. Following her arrest, Gavin was immediately suspended from her position at HMP Berwyn and charged with misconduct in public office. She pleaded guilty to the charges at Mold Crown Court. During her sentencing, the court emphasized how Gavin's actions not only violated prison regulations, but also compromised the integrity of the correctional system itself. Gavin received a sentence of 8 months in prison. The judge underscored the gravity of her offenses, particularly in light of previous similar incidents at HMP Berwyn. Additionally, as part of her sentence, Gavin was permanently barred from holding any position of public trust in the future. Rafaela Martinez. Rafaela Martinez, a 51-year-old probation officer at the LA County Jail, became entangled in a scandal shocking both her colleagues and the local community. Martinez's case stood out due to her age and long tenure in the correctional system. She had begun an inappropriate relationship with an inmate whose identity was withheld to protect the integrity of the investigation. The illicit affair came to light when another correctional officer noticed and reported their suspicions to the prison administration, prompting an internal investigation by the Department of Corrections. As a result of the investigation, there was uncovered evidence of a romantic and sexual relationship between Martinez and the inmate. This included love letters exchanged through the smuggled phones, which had somehow evaded detection. More alarmingly, Martinez was found to have used her position to bring in contraband items into the prison. Perhaps the most serious aspect of Martinez's misconduct was her ability to smuggle contraband into the facility for the inmate. This included a cell phone with which they exchanged messages and explicit pictures. Martinez also brought in small amounts of prescription drugs, further compromising the safety and order of the prison. She was arrested and immediately terminated from her position. She was charged with sexual conduct with an inmate, promoting prison contraband, and official misconduct. The multiple charges reflected the serious nature of her actions and the breach of trust she had committed. During her trial, prosecutors emphasized Martinez's long experience in corrections, arguing that she was well aware of the rules and the potential consequences of her actions. Her defense team, on the other hand, pointed to personal issues and emotional vulnerability as factors in her misconduct. Martinez pleaded guilty to the charges against her and was sentenced to serve a term in prison. The case of Rafaela Martinez sent shock and awe throughout LA County. It challenged the assumption that older, more experienced staff members were less likely to engage in inappropriate relationships with inmates. In response, the department implemented more rigorous, ongoing training for all staff, regardless of their tenure, focusing on maintaining professional boundaries and recognizing signs of emotional manipulation by inmates. This incident also led to a review of supervision practices for long-term employees and the implementation of regular psychological evaluations for all correctional staff. And with that, we've come to the end of the video. Feel free to share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.